If you're out in the market looking for an MPV and the Maruti Suzuki Ertiga just doesn't cut it for you, you want something a little more premium, a little more classy, well, you have the Maruti Suzuki XL6. And this, what we have here, is a 2022 model. It comes with a few changes, both in terms of design and in terms of the cabin. And of course, there's updates with the engine too. And we're here to tell you all about it. Hello and welcome to DriveSpark. I'm Stephen Neal, and this is our review of the Maruti Suzuki XL6, the 2022 refresh. Before we get talking about the design of the new XL6, let's start talking about a few things that you need to know. Firstly, the pricing. So the prices start at rupees 11.29 lakh, and that is for the base Zeta model. Yes, what was previously the mid model is now the base variant. So Maruti Suzuki has taken off the base variant of the old XL6. So now it starts at a price that is rupees 1.8 lakh higher than it used to start earlier. However, these are well-spec models, so you shouldn't have a problem with that. So you get the Zeta model, which is a base model now, and then you've got the Alpha and Alpha Plus, which is what we have here. There is yet another model called the Alpha Plus Dual Tone, which has a dual tone color. So you've got a blacked out roof and blacked out ORVM, and that is costing rupees 14.55 lakh for the automatic variant. So prices range between 11.29 lakh and 14.55 lakh. Keeping that aside, let's talk about the color. So this is the new Nexa Blue. So there was a color called the Nexa Blue earlier. However, this is brand new and this has been launched with the new XL6. So it looks really nice, and that brings us to the design of the XL6, starting off from the front end. So up front, you've got the same recognizable, very familiar headlamp with the same chrome accents on the headlamp. It is only the indicators that are lit up by a halogen bulb. The rest of the lighting is done by LED units. And that brings us to the grille. The grille itself is very simple. It's made of simple elements and there's not a lot to it, except that if you bring in the chrome, and there is quite a lot of chrome on here. So you've got the chrome element at the top, and you've got the surround in chrome, and then you've got this really thick chrome bar that runs through the grille with a really small Maruti Suzuki logo. Sorry, it's not really small, it's pretty prominent and pretty in your face. Right beneath the logo is the camera for the 360 degree. So this car comes with the 360 degree camera feature, and that helps in creating that 360 degree image in the 360 degree video. And that brings us to the lower half of the front end. So you get a redesigned bumper. Of course, you got lots of new elements in it, especially given this matte black cladding. So this is an all-round cladding that you find running throughout the vehicle. We'll show you more of it when we get to the side profile. And then you've got the scuff plate finish in a matte silver. That brings us to an end with the front end of the vehicle, with the front end design. Now it's time to check out the side profile. So as you can see on the side profile, the Maruti Suzuki XL6 is now more elegant, more classy. In fact, starting off from the front, let me get to the design elements. So you've got the wraparound headlamp. So a bit of the headlamp can be seen on the side profile as well. And then you get to the front fender. There are two elements that I'd like to draw attention to here. So the first thing is the black cladding. It's pretty prominent on the front fender. It's really thick, and well, it does draw your attention. It could have been a little slimmer, but then that's just my opinion. Do let us know what you think about it. And then you've got this little element in the front fender. So it's a matte black element with a chrome strip inside it, and that is yet another design element that has been added to this edition that is new on the XL6. And then you come to the mirrors. So you've got the body colored ORVMs. Of course, this is the Alpha Plus variant, so you get the body colored ORVMs. If you choose the dual tone variant, you get the blacked out ORVMs. Got integrated indicators in it, and then you've got the 360 degree camera mounted underneath the mirror. Now moving on to the doors, you've got the chromed out door handles, both front and rear. You've got a request sensor on the front one, so you can access it with a keyless entry. And then you've got the glass. Now I'd like to draw attention to the windows. So the glass in this is UV cut, and that simply means that it filters out the UV rays of the sun, the harmful UV rays, and gives you a much more pleasant experience inside the cabin when the windows are closed. At the top, you've got the functional roof rails. It looks really nice. It gives it a more functional look, a more practical look to this MPV. And then you've got the wheels. Now this is where I'd like to draw your attention to the most, because this is the most prominent change on the side profile. These are 16-inch wheels that replace the outgoing 15-inch wheels. The outgoing wheels were blacked out, and they look pretty simple compared to this. Now these are machine wheels. You get it in a dual tone finish, and they look really nice. They enhance the overall look of the MPV by a large extent. And finally, let's get to the bottom half. You've got the same black cladding that flows throughout the vehicle, and you've got a silver element inside of it that draws a really beautiful contrast to the overall design. And the same black cladding is also found towards the rear end. Again, it increases in size towards the rear of the vehicle too. And there are a few gaps in here when it comes to the cladding, and that could have been better. You could have got a better finish out of it. Now that draws us to a close of the side profile. Let's go to the rear and check out the design. Right up top, you've got a shark fin antenna, and then you've got this prominent spoiler. Integrated into the spoiler is a stop lamp, and you've got a windscreen washer as well. Adding to the washer, you've got the windscreen wiper. Beneath the wiper, you've got this blacked out element over here, and inside the blacked out element, you've got this chrome strip. So it looks really nice. This is the only thing that adds a bit of bling to the rear end. And then you've got the Suzuki logo. It's not as prominent as the one placed up front. This is just the right size. And then you've got the badging. You've got the XL6 on that side, and then on this end you've got the smart hybrid badging, which is what I'll tell you about when we're driving, because this is a new technology on this vehicle. This is regarding the engine, of course. Now, getting to the overall design, the biggest change comes in the form of these tail lamps. Now, the design of it is identical to the one that was on the outgoing model. However, there is a small change in it, and that has improved it no end. And that is the smoked out effect. So now the smoked out effect gives it a more premium look compared to the outgoing model, and that is a huge plus, a huge thumbs up from our end. And going down to the bottom, you've got this silver scuff plate again, matte silver again, and then you've got the same blacked out cladding that has been running throughout the vehicle. Also, the rear bumper has been redesigned, so you've got a vertical reflector now compared to the horizontal one on the outgoing model, and that pretty much sums up the design on the rear end of the vehicle. Now it's time to talk about boot space, and for that we have to open the boot. Now to open the boot, there's only one way to do it on this vehicle. You do not have a latch on the driver's side and on the floor, neither do you have the button on the key fob. You just have a latch on the boot, and that is a bit disappointing given the price tag of this vehicle. However, let's take a look at the boot. And here's the boot of the new Maruti Suzuki XL6. As you can see, all the seats are up, and in fact the third row is reclined to its maximum. And despite that, we've got a small suitcase in here, and we've got a backpack, and that pretty much takes up all the space in the boot. Now this is 209 liters of boot space. However, drop the third row down like so, and well, space increases to 550 liters, and you could just do that, and that gives you an idea of how much space is actually there. Drop the other two seats down, the captain seats in the second row, and the space increases to 692 liters. Yes, it might not be a lot. That's because the two seats don't fold down fully, and I'll tell you just why. For that, let's get into the car. Now this is why the second row seats do not fold flat. Firstly, because they're captain seats, you've got a huge headrest that is supposed to provide more comfort to the second row passengers. Secondly, because you need more ingress and egress space, and that is exactly what we're showing you right here. So now let's talk about the space in the third row. As you can see, my knees are digging into the second row seat, and that is because the second row seat is moved towards its rearmost position, and it's also reclined a bit. However, you can adjust the recline of it by using this lever here, this latch here, and now you see I have a little more space. I can actually rest in comfort. Even the rear seat on which I'm sitting is now reclined fully. You also have adjustable headrests, so you can adjust them, and there you go, I'm seated in very comfortable position. Now let's talk about some things that are missing in the third row of the XL6, and the first thing you miss the presence of is individual air conditioning vents. Now we have seen some vehicles in this segment being equipped with individual air conditioning vents for each passenger, and this does not get that. You don't even get a dedicated third row AC vent. Instead, you just get one vent for the second row and the third row. And in this summer heat, well, I'm not really getting the coolest of air out here. In fact, even though the AC is turned on right now as I speak, however, that is something you would just have to live with. Now coming to other things, you do not get a soft armrest. Yes, you do get hard plastics out here, and this could be a sore point over a long period of time. Now having said that, you do get cup holders. Both the passengers in the rear row get cup holders. You also get a 12-volt socket out here in case you want to run something like a fridge or probably a tire inflator, anything of that sort. Now it's time to sit in the second row, and I'll tell you more about these captain seats. Now this is the second row of the new Maruti Suzuki XL6, and as you can see, I'm very comfortable in these captain seats. Now let's talk about the seats first. So you do get perforated seat material, however they aren't ventilated, and of course these perforations are also found on the backrest, and you do get a very comfortable headrest too. These armrests really help. They are made of very soft foam, very cushiony, and you do also get soft padding for your armrest on the right side. Even though most of the door is made of hard plastics, just the part where you rest your arm, that is made of soft foam, and that simply gives you more comfort over longer distances. Now the door is not something much to talk about. It's a very simple design. There are no more colors at play. There's not a lot of colors at play. You do get cubby holes, you do get to store a 1-liter water bottle, and also you get a magazine holder, and that's just about it. You also get a seat back pocket where you can store your magazines or newspapers or the like. You also get a 12-volt socket mounted into the center armrest console, and you also get a small pocket to place your mobile phone while you're charging it. However, this brings us to yet another crucial point. There is no USB point to charge up your phone. Now you would have to carry around some 12-volt sockets to convert it to your USB. You do not get a USB type A or type C, in fact, so that is a little disappointing. And now it's time to talk about the nitty-gritties, and the first thing that comes to your mind, especially if you have an i4 detail, is that the battery pack for the hybrid system, the mild hybrid system on this car, is left uncovered. A simple carpet would have done just to cover it up. It does look a little shoddy given that you can see the battery right up front, and something definitely needs to be done about that. That being said, you do get a lot of comfort in here. These seats are very comfortable, and I can easily see myself doing long journeys in these seats in absolute comfort. In fact, I can recline even more and probably even go to sleep in these seats. And yet another thing that will help you stay comfortable in these seats is, of course, the 4 air conditioning vents that you see on top. So you also get a regulator to control the fan speed, and that is a great thing to keep you in utmost comfort. Let's start talking about the cockpit first. You do get an analog digital instrument cluster, so you do get analog speedometer, analog tachometer, and you've got the analog temperature and fuel gauges. However, you do get an MID in between that displays a lot of information for you, including the range, average fuel economy, etc. Also, it displays the mode the gearbox is in. Now do keep in mind that this is the automatic variant that we're driving. You also get it in a manual variant where it will show you the gear position indicator. Now let's talk about the steering wheel. It is a really chunky, nice, compact steering wheel. It's a flat bottom unit. While the steering itself is leather wrapped, you do get a plastic element into it, integrated into it, finished in matte silver, and that looks really nice. You do get steering mounted controls, of course, so you do get to change your music, you do get to increase the volume, decrease the volume. You also get to set cruise control, and this vehicle is equipped with Suzuki Connect, so you do get to give voice commands to the vehicle. So the voice command button is also mounted onto the steering wheel. Now I should bring your attention to these paddle shifters. Now this is an automatic gearbox, and there is no up and down shift in the manual mode on the gear lever. You do only get to do that through the paddle shifters. The paddle shifters are made of plastic, and this could have been made of aluminium. That would have given it a more premium look and feel all over. Now let's get to the dashboard. So this dashboard is pretty simple. There's not a lot of colors at play except in the central part of the dashboard. So you do get 4 wood finish. It's made of plastic, of course, it's not real wood. And then you've got the silver strip that goes underneath it, and taking center stage on the dashboard is the 7-inch touchscreen unit. It is Maruti Suzuki Smart Play Pro unit, so you do get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, of course, and it gets a lot of features. So once you connect your phone to it, you do get to use navigation. You do get a lot of connectivity features with it. The infotainment system is surrounded by the AC vents, and there is a unique design element on the dashboard towards the passenger side. So these are horizontal design lines, and they go in line with the AC vents. So when the AC vents are straight, they look perfect. However, if the AC vent is adjusted according to the passenger's needs, it does look a bit shoddy. So that is something that can catch the eye of someone who has an i4 detail. Beneath the infotainment system, you do get controls for your air conditioning. You do get automatic air conditioning, of course, and the air conditioning is pretty effective even in the summer heat, as you can see right now. Finally, we get to the center console, and there are a few cubby holes that I'd like to bring your attention to. Firstly, you've got this sliding armrest, and when you lift it up, you've got a small cubby hole that barely fits your phone. It doesn't even fit your phone. Probably you can store a few knickknacks, probably some change if you might and then you've got this proper old school handbrake or emergency brake, whatever you'd like to call it. Then you've got the gear lever. Before we get to the gear lever, let's talk about this. So this part of the center console is very important. So as you can see, I've stored my phone here. There is a little space to mount, to keep your phone. You do not get wireless charging. Wireless charging at this price point must have been there. However, you do not get wireless charging. Now you do get a 12-volt socket up front too, and on this side you do get a USB port. So you can charge your phone through either one of these options, and between these two you do get the controls for the seat ventilation. That's right, this vehicle comes with seat ventilation, and that is a very important addition on the new XL6. So at the moment I've got seat ventilation turned on to the fullest. You get 3 levels of adjustment for seat ventilation. So in this summer heat I'm cool as a cucumber, and well, I'm in absolute comfort. So that is a great addition to this new model, and you do get it for the passenger seat as well, so that's great. Also, you do get cool cup holders. So this cool cup holder is yet another addition that will make your life very easy, especially if it's in the summer months. Now let's get to the little things that matter. Firstly, you've got a 360-degree camera that makes life very easy, especially if you're parking in tight corners or reversing into spaces. So you do get a view button here that you can use to adjust exactly what camera view you want on the screen. Secondly, you've got this, the visors have got vanity mirrors, and on both sides you do get a light with a vanity mirror, so that is a great addition as well. And finally, you get storage in the door pads, so you do get to store 1-liter water bottles along with a few small knickknacks. Now that rounds up the updates to the interior of the new XL6. Now it's time to go driving, because there are a lot of changes under the bonnet of this vehicle, and we're here to tell you all about them. Let's go hit the road. So we're behind the wheel of the Maruti Suzuki XL6, and first things first, we have to get moving, and for that we shift. And the first thing you notice is with every shift there is slight movement of the vehicle, even though the brake pedal is depressed. Now that can be a little discomforting, but then that's how torque converters work. Now this is a torque converter, and with this update it is all about this new 6-speed torque converter. So this gearbox is brand new. Now that we're moving, so we're in D mode, so you do not have the option of shifting gears. So it gets moving very smoothly. There is absolutely no delay or lag in shifts. It just gets going and it's very smooth. You can just keep driving in D mode all day long. However, if you want to do a little bit of sporty driving, you can put your foot down and it will go down a couple of cogs. So there you have it. It's pulling now. It's pulling hard, and it's yet to shift, and it shifts. Now this is in D mode. Keep in mind, you do not have control over the shifts. However, there is something called M. So you shift to manual mode just like I've done now, and you have control over the gear shifts through the paddle shifters. So right now it's in 5th, and we're doing about 70 kilometers per hour. Things are very pleasant. It's very cool. You can even shift up to 6th gear. It can still take the load. We're barely touching 1500 rpm and everything's all good. It's all nice. This is how an MPV ride should be. MPVs are not meant to be driven flat out all the time, and that is something you need to underline while you're buying an MPV, while you're setting your expectations of an MPV. However, if you do feel the need to drive a little bit faster, get into the spirited mood, and you shift down 3 gears just like I've done, and you put your foot down, you expect the engine to surge forward with great speed, but it actually doesn't. The acceleration is very linear, and this brings us to the engine, which is a 1.5 liter engine. Now this engine is new for this model. The older XL6 also was powered by a 1.5 liter petrol engine, but it didn't have the smart hybrid technology nor the dual jet VVT technology that this vehicle has. So let's talk about this engine for a bit. Let's get to the specifications, starting off with the power output. So it produces 103 bhp at 6000 rpm, and in terms of torque you get 136 bhp at 4400 rpm. So in terms of the numbers also, it isn't quite the best out there. It's not meant for accelerating performance, and that is how this vehicle needs to be treated. If you're expecting excellent performance out of it, well, this simply isn't the vehicle for you. In fact, any MPV is not the vehicle for you. If you're out in the market for an MPV, you have to settle down for mediocre performance, and in terms of an MPV's performance, this engine is rather good. Now it's time to talk about the smart hybrid technology on the new XL6, and well, simply put, it is there to make your life behind the wheel easier, smarter and more efficient. Of course, that is the whole point of having a smart hybrid system. So it is equipped with an integrated starter generator, or more commonly referred to as ISG. So what this ISG does is, it is a motor that is located in the engine that assists the engine with additional torque whenever needed. So to get that extra torque, it uses a battery, and that is the battery that I was talking about earlier, that is mounted underneath the front passenger seat. Also, this battery gets charged up through regeneration, so whenever you're braking or coasting, the battery is being charged. Also, the IST helps in the situation where the start stop is turned on. So this system helps when you're stuck in traffic, and say you're in stop and go traffic. So every time you stop, the engine shuts off on its own, and then when you press the brake pedal or touch the throttle, it comes back to life, and you get going again. So that's how the system works, and it does help in saving quite a bit of fuel. In fact, if you're scrolling through the screens on the MID, so there is one screen where it shows total idle fuel save, and right now it's at 19 ml, which is not a lot because we have been idling this vehicle for a long time now while shooting this video. However, in your everyday commute, it is sure to save a lot more fuel. Now, speaking of efficiency, Maruti Suzuki claims that the new XL6 has a mileage figure, a fuel efficiency figure of 20 kilometers per liter, and that is pretty good for a vehicle of this size that can carry 6 people in it. So those figures are good. However, we are yet to verify them. We haven't tested out the mileage exactly in this review. However, we will be getting this vehicle soon for a proper road test, so do stay tuned for that. Now it's time to talk about the steering feel. Now the steering itself, the steering wheel feels very sporty. It's a flat bottom steering, etc. However, in terms of feedback, it is kind of flat. It's not, again, it is not a sporty vehicle. It's not meant to take corners at high speed, and hence that high speed cornering feedback is missing. And this is not something we're complaining about. This is just something we're letting you know. However, for its usage as an MPV, it is a great steering. It's not very light, neither is it too heavy. And in terms of handling, well, as you would expect, there is quite a lot of body roll. Again, it's a tall vehicle, it is expected, and if you set your expectations right, things would go well. So let's get to the suspension feel. The suspension does feel rigid, especially when 1 or 2 people are traveling in the car. This is a car that's meant to ferry 6 people at ease. When it is carrying 6 people, it is a very soft and plush ride. However, that being said, we should also mention that potholes are handled with absolute ease. There is no harsh feeling in the cabin when you hit a pothole or a speed breaker at a decent speed, and at low speeds it's very comfortable. You find it very difficult to criticize the ride quality of the new XL6. And then comes the braking aspect, where the XL6 really excels. It feels really nice. The brake bites well, and the vehicle stops just as you would expect it to. Of course, it isn't very exceptional, it isn't very powerful. Of course, you shouldn't be expecting powerful brakes in an MPV because it could cause some kind of injury if you're carrying a full load of passengers. However, that being said, the brakes are adequate, more than adequate. In fact, the brakes perform really well. So in terms of usability, there is little to nothing to complain about when it comes to the Maruti Suzuki XL6. The XL6 has always been a great car to use. It's been very practical. A lot of people have covered a lot of distance in it, and they still swear by its reliability. And now the new XL6 with its new technology and a lot of updates, including this ventilated seat, it makes it one of the best MPVs out there. So there you have it. The Maruti Suzuki XL6 is a vehicle that everyone swore by. Everyone who bought it is very happy with it. Very reliable, very practical. Usability is brilliant, and now it has just improved with the new XL6. It's got more technology, it's got more features to it, and it's just more practical, more usable, and it is one of those vehicles that make driving a breeze, especially if you have to carry around a lot of people. So that was our take on the driving aspect of the new Maruti Suzuki XL6. So that was our take on the new Maruti Suzuki XL6, and it comes with a lot of updates that make it more appealing. If you're out in the market looking for a 6-seater MPV, this might just be the one for you. That's it from us for now. Thank you so much for watching. Do let us know in the comments what you thought about the new XL6, and if you have any queries or doubts about it too, you can ask us and we'll make sure to answer them for you. This is Stephen Neal signing off for DriveSpark. Stay safe and drive safe.